What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mythic Conversations. I'm your host, Jeremy Gerard. I'm a Mythic Legions collector and customizer who also, of course, has the distinct privilege of being the digital marketing manager for Four Horsemen Studios. What that means is that all the content that you see at sourcehorseman.com is content that I help to bring you. If you want to check out more of my work, you can always do so on my Instagram page. That's probably the best place to follow me. That's at Mythic Customs, all one word. Of course, I'm also here every single Wednesday night live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time doing the weekly Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, Four Horsemen Studios, all things in that universe we talk about on this show, Mythic Conversations. It's called Conversations because it's a back and forth. There's a chat here. I want to hear from you. And tonight's conversation is definitely one that we can engage in a little bit, because tonight is very much one where I'm going to talk a lot about LegionsCon 2022. Obviously, that's the big news that dropped this week. So I'm going to talk a lot about that. I can answer some of your questions about that as well. But additionally, I have some stuff that I've really been thinking a lot about in terms of my own customizing, some things that I want to do in the new year, and hopefully some challenges that I can give all of you to help you elevate your customizing game in fun ways in 2022. So thank you very much for joining, whether you're tuned in live, whether you're catching it on replay, whether you're here every single week or this is your first time checking it out. Thank you for joining Mythic Conversations. Let's see. I will check in the comments here. Obviously, we got all the early birds. It's funny because I'm actually in the chat early. You know, I get started, I'm here, I'm waiting and everything. So I see everyone chatting there, and I almost wish there was like a pre-show that I could do to hang out and talk to everybody. Of course, I could just start the show early, but we have a start time for a reason. So, hey, everyone, thank you for hitting it up. Greg T saying, very excited about this year's LegionsCon. I'm all booked and ready to go. Looking forward to this year's shenanigans. Trust me, there's going to probably be some shenanigans. I'm going to talk all about everything. Joe, what's up? Nice to see you in this chat. Star, nice to see you. Rosedale, Lady, what is it? Lady Beeroy styled. Lord Ruthven, Adrian, everybody, thank you very, very much for joining. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Music to knit by. Hey, don't make fun of my little folk music. Curtis saying, can't wait to see everyone at LegionsCon. Anthony House Seal, thank you for joining. You started painting yet? Yes, I've been painting, but not for LegionsCon yet. We got a lot of stuff to get through, a lot of sales to get through before we get to LegionsCon. Okay, awesome. Yeah, the Four Horsemen show is the pre-show. That's right. So if you caught me on that today, second week in a row that I jumped on the Four Horsemen o'clock with Chris and George. Looks like I'm going to be on next week too, because we were planning that kind of towards the end of the show. So that's kind of fun. I've been enjoying doing that. I like getting a chance to talk to those guys as well. So love doing that. Yes, Eric saying the Flying Fox. Yeah, we're going to talk about this little guy later tonight. He's he helps illustrate a topic that I want to bring out. This is the customized show today. I got some pictures that I'll bring up in a little bit. Okay, Tristan saying, I hope there's still rooms available. There was, as of yesterday when I called, there was still some rooms available in the block that we had. So I will get to that in a few minutes. Obviously, the Poxxus pre-order just wrapped up on Sunday. It's interesting because doing this tonight, I actually recorded a new episode of LegionsCast with Lord Stephen last evening. Stephen is actually traveling right now, so we got one in right before he was able to leave, but he wasn't sure if he was going to post it, if he was going to have time to post it. He said it might actually have to wait until he gets back next week. So it's kind of funny where we recorded that show and we're talking about things, like I said, on tomorrow night, my show tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about that. So it's funny that by the point that he posts that, I'm going to be referencing things that have already happened, but it sounds like they're going to happen in the future. Who knows? Crazy, crazy times. But Stephen and I talked a little bit about that last night, about the end of Poxxus. What an amazing, amazing wave. It's crazy that it seems like just yesterday that we launched it, but forever ago as well. The fact that, G-Con and LegionsCon and Mythic weekend in November, this really was an extended pre-order. A lot of the pre-orders are obviously a very short window of 1 month, really tight to get those in. This one was considerably longer because of the nature of the pre-order itself. It's a bigger wave. People went super, super hard. If you heard today on the 4 Horsemen O'Clock, Arakagor, the Dragosair Paladin, was clearly the fan favorite. No surprise. He's one that when we showed him off at G-Con was hugely, hugely popular. Poxxus was also incredibly popular. Thrace Wraithhailer was really, really popular as well. A lot of people really loved that figure. So, ultimately, they were all popular. People definitely went to town getting these. Now the wait happens, right? Now we wait for those. As we said earlier today, anyone who did miss out on the pre-order or anyone that wants to add extras, because obviously if you order from Store Horseman, you get the best price possible, but you do have to pay up front. Whereas the secondary retailers, they all, or I can't say all, a lot of them charge either a very small deposit or in some cases no deposit. So if you do want to add more and you don't want to have to pay up front, that is certainly another option. If you missed out completely for some reason, at least you're not totally shut out of the line. Let's see what's up. No extensions. I think the extensions are a thing of the past. That was something that the Horsemen were known for years, where they would say it ends on this day, and then everyone would wait until the last minute and say, like, oh, just give me another weekend, just give me another weekend. And a lot of times they would say, hey, we're going to extend it from Friday to Monday to give you the extra couple days. Every time you extend something, there's a trickle down effect. And really one of the things that Chris has worked hard on at the studio is formalizing the schedule. And, there's more being created now than ever before between Mythic, Cosmic, and now Figura Obscura. There's a lot of projects that are in the works at any given time. So sticking to a very strict schedule becomes incredibly important. If you start extending things, that eats into the time between orders. It eats into the time when the retailers can open up their orders. So for all of those people that have been around for a while that remember those extensions, I would suggest those are a thing of the past. Never say never, but I certainly wouldn't expect them to come again. Yes, Curtis, Stephen did know which Jeremy I was. Actually, when you hear the next Legions cast, we addressed that a little bit, so you'll have fun with that. Need a Lizard Man faction. Yeah, a lot of people have asked for reptilians. That's been a pretty popular request. We kind of got that with Cosmic, right? With Cosmic, with Oleg Thygar, we've got a very reptilian type race, Kragnar as well, and then certainly the Dragosair Paladin, Arakagor. Yeah, pay now and wait, or pay more and pay later. Let's see. I can see Thrace being a Lady Death. Yeah, I can see people doing that as well. There's so many Lady Death figures. It's one of those things where you just buy a Lady Death as opposed to customizing it. But if you really want like a Legion's Lady Death, absolutely. Very cool. Greg, I cannot comment on when things will be coming in stock. Unfortunately, I wish I could. I can't not answer that question. So that's a big piece of news. LegionsCon 2022. That is going to be probably the first big part of our conversation today. And then I'm going to get in. If you saw the banner that I had at the front where it says LegionsCon 2022 announcement, and then it said Legion's customizing challenges for the new year. So that'll be the second half that we talk about. So LegionsCon 2022, we started planning this at LegionsCon 2021. I mean, really, that weekend, everyone who came to 2021 had, from what we've been told, from the feedback we've received, everyone had an amazing, amazing time, which is incredibly cool to hear. But it also, Joe Viteri, who runs the show with me, and we were talking about it, and we were saying to get this kind of reaction and this kind of feedback, knowing how we weren't able to execute on so much of what we wanted to do, was really, really encouraging, because we knew that when we could do those things, we're just going to take it to the next level. 2021 was not a perfect year, for LegionsCon. There was a lot of things we weren't able to do because we were still struggling with COVID and restrictions and everything like that. But it was a great year to build on. It was the exact kind of show we needed to have, going from that first year that was just a meetup kind of get together to the virtual year. 2021 was the exact year we needed to have. It was the year we needed to have to give us the confidence to make a really important decision, and that is to split LegionsCon from ToyCon New Jersey. So ToyCon New Jersey, or ToyCon NJ, is a show that Joe puts on twice a year in the New Jersey area, in Wayne, New Jersey. Awesome event. It's got a lot of different vendors, a lot of different kinds of products. That first year that we did LegionsCon, we did it as an after party with ToyCon, because we already had the building. We could use a little room that wasn't being used, so there was really no overhead. This year we did it in a separate room from ToyCon, but the same building. And this year we only did it on the Sunday. Like Saturday was part of ToyCon. Saturday people came. The Horsemen had their table at ToyCon, so a lot of people came and they got stuff. They shopped the table, but really the LegionsCon display was only on the Sunday, and that was for a very practical reason. The fact that the room that we used for it, the building uses it for bingo on Saturday night, so we literally couldn't get it during the Saturday. That's why we only did the Sunday. But while there's advantages to having LegionsCon tied to ToyCon, because it is a very large, very popular show, the reality is it also provided some challenges and some limitations. So the success of this past year really made us realize that we need to break this off on its own. This is successful enough. There's enough interest in this that we can do it by itself. One of the things that I've said before that bears repeating, so what our marching orders are. When Joe and I sat down to talk about this last year, I very clearly stated the mission is that everyone who comes to LegionsCon 2021 has such a good time they cannot imagine missing 2022. And everyone who misses it and sees all of the fan reaction and sees the photos and the posts and everything has such a sense of missing out that they're like, one way or another, I have to get there next year. And that's a big part of the reason we have announced it as early as we have. Someone made a snarky comment, in good fun, of course, about it being so early that we were announcing it. And that's intentional. There's still a lot left to reveal, but we wanted people to know the date. We wanted people to know the venue so they could start booking. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the venue. And as I do this, I'm actually going to bring up the announcement. So this is what we posted the other day. This is the LegionsCon announcement. So you can see here that it details that the event takes place on November 5th and 6th. That is a Saturday and a Sunday. So not officially in this notice, but I can tell you now that this is once again going to be part of Mythic Weekend, which we might need to rename because we're calling it Mythic Weekend and we're doing more than Mythic these days, right? We're not just confined to that one realm anymore. However, the idea, the concept of a whole weekend of activities, we are absolutely doing that again this year. What that means is that this year, the actual LegionsCon event, the exhibits and everything will span 2 full days. So unlike last year where Saturday was not really a real day and Sunday was the real day, this is going to be 2 full days. And I'll get to that in a moment and tell you a little bit about what we're planning. The Friday will be G-Con. So that virtual G-Con broadcast, that will happen in advance of LegionsCon, just like it did this year. And yes, the plan is there will be an Intern for a Day experience on the Thursday. Now, a lot of people have been asking about Intern. If you heard me talk about Intern, for a day before, you know how much I love this experience. It was offered previously as part of the crowdfunding campaign for Mythic Legion's Tactics War of the Aether Blade. People were able to go on, back for that reward, and get invited to be a part of this. The simple reality is when people saw how much fun the interns had this past year, interest in that event went through the roof. The reality is there's no way that the demand for this is going to be in line with what can actually be accommodated at the studio. So while plans are still in development for this, and there are no plans to reveal yet, I'm just telling you that it is very likely that Intern for a Day is going to have to be done through some kind of lottery, because quite simply, that is going to be probably the fairest way to allow people to get that. Now, more details on Intern for a Day on G-Con, that will all be forthcoming down the road. So I am not going to answer any more questions about that tonight because quite honestly, there are no other answers other than it's going to happen and we've got to figure out the best way to do it in the fairest way to do it so fans can get access to that. That's what I'm going to leave with there. To G-Con, let me tell you a little bit about this. So LegionsCon. So LegionsCon last year, I mentioned it was at the venue where, and I'm going to take this down for a moment so you can see me. LegionsCon was basically in a lunchroom last year. It was a big, giant, gymnasium-like lunchroom that we were in last year. It wasn't at a hotel, so you couldn't stay on site or anything like that. One of the things we did this year was we found a brand new venue. So we're going to be in an area called Secaucus, New Jersey, or Secaucus, New Jersey, depending on how you say it. It is at a La Quinta Inn, and basically this is a hotel. It's got a very, very large ballroom. So if you were at LegionsCon this past year, the room that we were in was about 6,800 square feet. Now, it's a little deceptive because there was a whole section of that room that was, blocked off. It was a big stage type area where they did the bingo that we couldn't actually use. So while the room was 6,800 square feet, that particular corner that couldn't be used ate into that number. The ballroom that we have at the new location is 6,000 square feet. So realistically, I think it's almost a wash between the two rooms. I think they're going to be about the same size. And realistically, we could have fit more people in that room. We could have spaced things out to get more exhibitors in there. And that's part of the plan. We are going to have more guests, more exhibitors this year. But above and beyond that ballroom, the hotel also has 5 different breakout rooms. Each one of the breakout rooms can probably fit 40-ish people in it. We rented every one of them, literally all of them. Every possible meeting space in the hotel, we rented it for the entire weekend. So the idea is that this big ballroom will be where everything is set up. That will be the main displays. That will be Obviously Four Horsemen Studios will be in there. Customizers will have exhibits there with stuff to see and stuff to buy. 3D printers, photographers, artists, independent toy creators. I'll talk about that in a few moments as well. They will all be set up in that room. In those 5 breakout rooms, there will be other things happening. Exactly what remains to be seen, but I'll tell you some of our ideas. One of the rooms we're actually talking about just leaving open. We're talking about just having a room where people who are at the con, who just want to sit down and hang out, who want to start a Dungeons and Dragons game, who want to play another kind of board game, who want to just sit down and do some trading or some popping and swapping. Anything that you want to do, we're talking about having an open room that you guys can just go do that. Chairs and tables and stuff in there. 2 of the other rooms, we actually want to do some intimate workshops. So they're not huge rooms, right? It's not like San Diego Comic-Con with Hall H where it's a giant amphitheater. These are small rooms. So what we think would be really, really cool is, while we can't necessarily do like a big Four Horsemen Q&A because everyone would want to see that, right? Well, guess what? G-Con is essentially a 6-hour Horseman Q&A. We don't necessarily need to do that at LegionsCon as well. But at LegionsCon, it being the community focused, we think it'd be really cool to do more intimate workshops. So for instance, a customizing workshop, say someone like Nikki Nicole Cheney sits down with a very small intimate group and does some stuff, talks about some things, answers some questions. I kind of did this impromptu at this last year. So if you were hanging out at the hotel, the Days Inn that we stayed at, after the Saturday night, we all went out to dinner and we came back. I actually had some painting to do. I had a few pieces that needed to be painted. So I was sitting at a table in kind of the little like nook at the Days Inn, and I was just painting. And there was a crowd of people around me and they were asking questions and I was telling them what I was doing. I was doing something very similar to what I do on my show here, but being able to see it in person, a number of people came up to me after and said, that was super fun. That was like super, super cool. I didn't do it for that reason. I legitimately needed to paint stuff and wanted to do it around everybody so I could still be part of the conversations. But that thought process of having a really cool kind of workshop style thing, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe photography workshops, customizing workshops, some of the 3D printers talking about what they do and answering questions along the way. So that's going to be part of it. And that's important, I think, because if you came to LegionsCon 2021, it was just really an exhibit. I've always said that LegionsCon is kind of like part toy show, part art show, because there's a lot of tables that have amazing, amazing things to see and nothing is for sale. So it bridges that gap between art show and toy show. Lots to buy, lots of people selling stuff, but also lots of stuff that's just there purely for you to appreciate. However, once you make the rounds of the floor, yeah, you can hang out, and a lot of people chose to. A lot of people hung out all day just engaging and talking and being a part of this. But we want to go above and beyond that for 2022. So the fact that we're going to have a schedule of events all day on Saturday and Sunday will allow guests to really look at that schedule. And what we'll probably do is we won't do it first thing in the morning. So when you get there, you'll be able to come in, get the show figures, more on that shortly, make the rounds, see everybody, do the tables. And then once you've gotten that out of the way, so you're not trying to conflict with, doing your early morning rounds, then we'll have some of those workshops and some of those Q&A sessions and things like that. So you'll be able to go with that. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the schedule of events for all of that stuff, that will happen at a later date. We'll announce all of that stuff when we get closer. Once again, for now, we wanted to name the date and the venue. Now, regarding the venue, hotel. So because we're at a hotel, you can actually stay there, whether you're an exhibitor and you want to be in the hotel or whether you're just a fan. And there was a little bit of confusion about this. Secaucus, New Jersey, this hotel, it's kind of like right on the border between like New York and New Jersey. It's actually a very popular area, very populated area. There's a lot of stuff around it, which is actually super cool, right? There's a Bonefish Grill that's 100 feet from the hotel. So while there's no restaurant in the hotel, you can literally walk across the parking lot and there's Bonefish Grill right there. And there's a lot of other stuff right around this area within walking distance. So there's a lot of options for food, entertainment, and other lodging options as well. You do not have to stay in the hotel venue. It's not required. The hotel venue itself, if you went on like a Priceline or a Travelocity or their website and you tried to book rooms for the weekend, it was fairly expensive. A number of people were seeing like $1,000 for the weekend. They didn't read my instructions. On the website LegionsCon.com, which I'll bring up in a moment, there's actually instructions on how to book. We negotiated a block of rooms at the hotel. I'll tell you right now, we actually negotiated half the damn hotel. Okay, we got them to give us literally 50% of the rooms in the entire hotel available with our discount code. Our discount code is $179 a night for a king bedroom, $199 a night for a queen double, 2 queens. I do know that the 2 queens sold out at one point and they added more into that stock. So I'm not sure where it stands right now. Again, when I called yesterday, they still had, some rooms left. I booked my room. I can tell you I got a double room because my family's going to be with me. It was $200 a night plus taxes, like $37 tax a night. So it was just shy of $500 for a 2-night stay, the Friday night and the Saturday night. Staying that close to New York, that's actually a pretty darn good price. Now, certainly you can find it cheaper. I know a lot of people are booking at I believe the Super 8, and they're getting like prices that are under $100 a night. You're not going to offend me or anybody if you decide to stay off site. But if you do want to be right in the thick of things, being at the venue hotel, that is certainly an option. But definitely use the discount code to do that. There's a phone number on LegionsCon.com. All you got to do is call that number. Tell them you're booking for November. You don't even have to say LegionsCon because literally so many people have been calling that if you call and say I'm booking for November, they're like, yeah, you're calling for LegionsCon? Yeah, we know. And they'll book you. They'll take care of you. Very, very cool. Love it. Let's see. I got a bunch of people asking questions here. Let's see what they're asking. I got to go back a bit. Yeah, Legion's moot, Joe. Bill from Dorklair can host some magic. Is Bill a magician? If he is, I don't know that. So if Bill is actually like a magician, you're gonna let me know that. Legion's Con Hero Quest table, dude. Whatever you want. Like we're not going to be like that room. We're not going to be setting up games or stuff like that. We do have some entertainment ideas, but so we're really kind of giving you the space to do it if people want to set that up. Toy photography workshops, that is one of the ones we're planning. We've already been talking to both Trevor and Nate Strong, Corona 4, about doing maybe some photography workshops. So that is in discussions. That's on the list. Yeah, Patrick saying you loved watching me drive Russ in person. Yeah, it was actually kind of fun, right? That was pretty cool. I a couple people. It's funny. Len came up to me afterwards, and goodness, Len has heard me talk about dry brushing a million times. But he literally said that seeing me do it made it things he didn't not understand. It showed him exactly how he should be doing it, and then it allowed him to improve the way he does it for his own customs. Like something as simple as that. I wouldn't have thought that, but it was really, really impressive to know that. Yeah, Eric's saying that was awesome to walk into. Diorama workshops. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have some diorama creators there. So I guarantee you that that's something we can talk about as well. Nate saying, will the breakout sessions be different each day or where there will be repeats? I think there's going to be different ones each day, but that would really depend on how many of our guests want to be involved. I'm imagining 2 separate rooms to do it. If we have so much interest, I guess I could do a third one. A lot of this is still up in the air. But obviously, if there's if there's one that's like super, super popular, maybe we'll repeat that on both days. A lot of this is going to be up to the artist to decide what they want to do, but it's a great question. Okay. Definitely looking forward to be able to take part in the workshops. Yeah, those are going to be fun, I think. Yeah, 50% of the rooms might turn it into a Mythic Cosmic Legions hotel. I'll be honest, I wanted to have the entire hotel booked with just us, but knowing there's going to be a point where they're going to say, we can't discount any more rooms. Like we literally gave you half of the hotel. And if we sell out half of the hotel, if we sell our block of rooms, trust me, we will call them and say, give us more rooms. Like we will push them to give us more rooms. So, but there's going to be a point where they say no. That's just the reality. So, unfortunately, I don't imagine we're going to get the entire hotel booked because the regular price for the hotel is very expensive. But that'd be awesome, right? Even if we're just 50%, we're going to take that place over. Who said they were offended? Hedgehog, why are you offended? Yeah, everyone will be hanging out anyway, so it doesn't matter where you stay. There's a bunch of motels 3 minutes from the venue. Absolutely. Like, hear me say this. If you don't stay in the venue, you might be missing out a tiny bit. Like you won't maybe see us in the elevators or something. You might not see us at breakfast. I don't know, but you're not going to miss out on much. There's a lot of stuff really, really close by. And like I said, we are trying to set up spaces in the actual venue where people can gather and hang out, even if they're not staying there. That's one of the reasons why we want to have one of those rooms be open, because if you're staying at the Super 8 next door and you want to hang out with some people, we want to give you the place to do that. Plus all the other stuff around it. I'll tell you, at 2021, one of my favorite parts of the entire weekend was the hotel. Being at the hotel after the show was done, like late at night, and hanging out with just everybody. Joe, Wyatt, Michael, Brad, the podcast guys, everyone that's on, Eric LeBron, Brian Burke. There were so many people there, Patrick and Len and Anthony. I'm going to forget people because there was just so many people there. Steve and Nikki, everyone was hanging out at the venue. And it was super, super fun to do. It was, a lot of the people that actually we had hung out with at Intern for a day and at G-Con the following day, they were there as well. So it just ended up being a really fun experience to be a part of. That kind of camaraderie, that's what we want to have it this year as well. So whether you're hanging out in the hotel, at Bonefish Grill, or somewhere nearby, trust me, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do that. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, Trevor, Magic the Gathering, that would be another cool thing people could do. Yeah, Jennifer saying I grabbed room at Super 8. A lot of people are doing that. Super 8's going to be like, I think like we're going to be Hotel 1A. That's going to be Hotel 1B. There's going to be a lot of people there. The hotel lounge after parties are going to be insane. I agree. There's not a bar or lounge really in our hotel in the La Quinta. There's a big lounge area in the front area. And then there's, the back room we're going to have. But there's going to be a lot of gathering going on. Can we have Nate Strong do a financial planning workshop? There we go. Photography breakout room, top want for LegionsCon 2022. Hopefully we can record breakout rooms for some people that can't see them. So that's a great idea, Patrick. And one of the things we're talking about is actually, because we're spending more money on this, clearly. Tickets to last year were $10. This year the tickets are going up, but they're going to be $25 for the entire weekend. So that's a pretty darn good price. I think there's a lot of value in that. And part of the reason that we're doing that is we are looking to make investments not only in the hotel that we're doing it is a lot more expensive. But also potentially, Patrick, hiring like an AV crew to come and do some filming, because the reality is we can't run that. We have too many other things that we're doing. We can't be in charge of setting up cameras. So that's the type of thing that we're like, hey, literally, let's push that to somebody else, maybe do a stream of that or something, and then people can enjoy that long after the event actually happens. Let's see. The Thursday and Sunday night prices are decent at the Legions Hotel. So they really just jacked it up for the Friday and Saturday. It's a New York hotel. That's not uncommon. I will tell you, I was saying this to someone the other day. I'm actually not staying. I'm staying at the hotel on the Friday night and the Saturday night. I'm not staying. Maybe I'll stay there for the Sunday just because it's convenient. But earlier in the week, I'm going to probably be in Jersey that entire week. I'm not going to stay at that hotel. I'm going to stay much closer to the studio, which is where I'll be for the rest of the week. So even I heard some people, I was talking to a friend who was trying to figure out how long he should book for. And I said, well, look, book the hotel venue now, because you know you want to be there Friday and Saturday at the discounted rate. Book that. If you do get into the lottery for intern and you need extra time, it's literally New Jersey. There is no shortage of hotels to stay at. You will find a place that you can stay. Let's see, and I'm gonna quickly, there we go. Okay, a lot of comments today, which is what I expected. Very good. Yeah, perfect to have LegionsCon in a hotel. Steven was saying that because Steven's been to like PowerCon and stuff, where he said that's half the fun, is just being at the venue and waking up and seeing everybody and getting geeked up for the Saturday and then geeked up for the Sunday. That's going to be cool too. So Friday will be G-Con, and then after G-Con, we're all going to have to race over to the venue. It's about 20 minutes from the studio. We'll have to get there because setup night for vendors will be Friday night. So Friday night we'll set everything up, and then when we open the doors on Saturday, everyone will be ready to go. We are planning, by the way, to pre-sell tickets this year because it's only on its own. It's easier to do that. There will be tickets at the door as well. I don't know if the price will be a little bit different for one versus the other, but we do want to be able to pre-sell tickets specifically because you're going to have to pick up a badge, right? So the idea is that while we're doing setup in the ballroom on the Friday night, if people who have pre-purchased badge want to pick up their badges Friday night, then on Saturday morning, we don't have to check that stuff. We don't have to check to make sure that, you've got the right code and stuff. You can get it on Friday night. You're not worried about getting in because it's not open yet. But then on Saturday, when you get in line, you can just get right in those doors because you've got your badge already picked up. So that's some of the stuff we're talking about doing. Trying to get through these. So one of the cool things is the first thing I did before we announced publicly was I reached out to all of last year's exhibitors and I said, hey, keep it secret, but this is the information for LegionsCon. These are the dates. This is the venue, et cetera, et cetera. Before we open this up to the public and get new exhibitors in, we want to give you access. And I will tell you that not one person who was involved last year has said, no, we don't want to do it this year. Now, there's a couple people that haven't replied yet that I'm still waiting to hear their answers, but by and large, every single person has, not by and large, literally everyone who has given me an answer has said, yes, I want to be there. And if you look at this guest list, it is already insane. So obviously, Four Horsemen Studios, the belle of the ball. They're going to be there. They will have a display of items for sale. They'll have Legions. What will be available in November, I don't know, but they will have Legions for sale. They will also have stuff on, display for exhibit. Keep in mind, this is right after G-Con. So whatever gets shown at G-Con, I wonder what that could be. That's going to be on display as well. This past year, a lot of people were bummed that they didn't get to see the prototypes. But the reality was the prototypes were there. They didn't get put out until a few hours into the show. So people that came, hit the show, and then left, they missed out on that. So again, we're trying to have incentives for people to stick around. The workshops will do a big part of that. Hopefully seeing those prototypes will as well. I'll clearly be there along with, Joe Viteri, the hosts and organizers. Nate Barch, artist for all things Legions, he will be there. The My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me podcast, that crew is driving down again from Michigan. They'll be there. Nikki Nicole Cheney, obviously Walter Hagen of the Mythic Legions Cabal, William Smithsonian, the Straight Poop, Chris Garch, he'll be there, of course. Dennis Derby, Crashbox Customs, 1/6 shooter, he's here on the show this evening. Trevor, official photographer for the Legions lines, he will be there. Cosplayer Joe Colton. Joe was there this past year in her cosplay of Artemis Silvercord. Now that we've got 2 days, hopefully we'll see 2 unique costumes, maybe even, I don't know if we'll see 2 new ones, but Joe is sweet as can be. She's going to be there again. Emil Wickman coming once again from Sweden. We got him for 2021. We're going to back for 2022. Eric Miller, he's going to be there. Wolf King Customs, Len will have a crazy display of products for sale, just like he did this past year. Brian Burke of Von Burke Studios will be there. Again, another 2021 exhibitor. One of our new exhibitors this year, Melissa Somerville of Lady Tank Studios. So she's one of our new. We don't have a lot of new ones to announce yet, in part because we didn't reach out to new people, right? A lot of these are repeats from 2021 because that's really all we've reached out to so far. But Melissa had reached out to us after 2021 and said, I need to be there in 2022. So she's one of our new exhibitors on the list here. I'm going down here. Stefan from Detour Customs, brutally cool custom pieces. One of our Legion Shop artists who also has a very successful website and product line of his own. He's going to be there yet again. Anthony Hausiel from the Toy Forge, he'll be there, striking the forge hard with all of his Dwarven-inspired customs. Anthony from Noble Bear Customs, another 2021 exhibitor. Huge array of products that will be there again. Sabadam from Planetary Dog Toys. So this past year, Planetary Dog Toys had a display of products for sale, right? But Saba couldn't make the trip. Saba is flying in for the show. So if you've bought his products over the years, if you've wanted to actually hang out and meet Saba, he will be in attendance at LegionsCon. Formo Toys, another new exhibitor. Formo Toys, their new line is going to be debuting. They have a Kickstarter, I believe, coming out in just like 8 days or something like that. They are going to be having a very big, important exhibit at LegionsCon as part of our Independent Toy Creator Showcase. I'm going to come back to that. Keep that in mind. Spiro Studios, another new exhibitor this year that's going to be part of that showcase. They're the team behind the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom line. They will be at LegionsCon 2022. Strupp Family Crafts, once again, will be there. Some of the nicest, coolest people you will ever meet, and some great American-made soft goods. They'll be in attendance. Eric LeBron, once again, flying out. Eric's on the chat right now. He's been a guest here on my show. Eric, super excited to have him there again. Legion Shop, of course. Joe and I run Legion Shop. We run LegionsCon. We will have a display, an exhibit of a bunch of products for sale from a variety of artists. Noah Pratt, Anything's Posable. Wonderfully cool customizer, diorama maker, photographer. He was there this past year. Some of his products, some of his dios could be seen at the Wolf King Customs table. He's going full in. He's going to have his own displaying table this year. Legion's Lounge. So the hosts of Legion's Lounge will be there, and we're not ready to announce it yet, but we've got some special after hours entertainment that we're planning. And I believe the Legion's Lounge crew, they're going to play hosts for that. So stay tuned. We're going to have some really special news on that you're going to be very excited for. Joe Vassapolo, he's been with us since day one. He has been an exhibitor at literally every LegionsCon we've had, including the virtual one. Joe will be there as well. And Joe's also part of Four Horsemen Studios, so he'll be doing double duty all weekend. Luis Torres, another original LegionsCon exhibitor, back again. Retrospect Customs, Leland will be there. Leland's local to the Jersey area, blew people away with his customs this past year. I'm losing breath, but literally look at this guest list, right? Look at it. Big Head Studios, they were actually supposed to be there at 2021, and at the last minute, their flight got canceled. They couldn't make it in. They regretted it. They're coming for 2022. Rich Keiss, local customizer, he's going to be there. Awesome display this past year. Patrick Boyle, who's in the chat right now. Patrick, once again, one of my favorite creative customizers, blows me away with the way he uses parts. He will be there as well. Cellar Door Graphics, that's the company that actually Len LaGuardia runs as well. They do all of the gear. Actually, they make my shirt. So they make the Mythic custom shirt. They make a lot of the Mythic Legions Cabal shirts. They'll have a whole, table full of swag there as well. Grim Digon, again, a customizer that a lot of people may not have been aware of his work, blew people away at 2021. Ivan is going to be back again with a big display. Ariel Brenman, he was at 2021. He had a big table full of stuff, a lot of variety of things for sale, a lot of Legion stuff, but also other lines as well. He had some, he had a Marvel Legends Sentinel. He had a bunch of Mezco stuff. Remember, this is not just an art exhibit. This is not just Legions. This is a toy show as well. While most of the tables are going to be predominantly Legions focused, there will be other stuff as well. He's going to be there as one of our marketplace sellers. Immortal Collections, Legion Shop artist, great artists. They blew people away with their Oni customs at LegionsCon 2021. So much so that I reached out to them and said, guys, you're doing those at Ogre scale. You got to give me those at 1.0 scale for Legion Shop. We just added them to the site last week and they sold out. Incredibly cool pieces. I love them. When they came in, I took one of each for myself and bought it because I like them so much. They're going to bring the heat again this year with something super cool. Almost done. Retro Rags Limited, the official apparel licensor of Four Horsemen Studios and the Legions lines. They will be there with their display of items for sale. Oberon's Plastic Dreams, another customizer that blew people away this past year. Jerome will be there once again. The team from Great Hall Game Studios, that's the team behind Mythic Legions Tactics, War of the Aether Blade. They will be there as well. That is the initial list. I will tell you there's probably 10 others that have already signed on that aren't on the list that we're going to be adding to the website and announcements soon. But even that list so far, I mean, have you ever seen that much Legions talent? That much, I shouldn't even qualify it, that much artistic talent, that much creativity, and that just quantity of just straight up awesome human beings. Have you ever seen that in one place? You're going to see that at LegionsCon 2022. Whew. Okay, so I was literally on another screen reading all that, so I didn't read all the comments of everything that people were coming in. Yeah, there's going to be so much happening, so much going on. Okay. Yeah, Oberon's customs were beautiful, beautiful. So that is literally just the beginning. I don't know if anyone has any questions on anything I've covered. I think I focused on everything I really wanted to. Oh, obviously, yes, two. There will be 2 show version figure sets available at LegionsCon. So be aware of this. They will be offered one each day. So on Saturday, there will be one of the figures one of the sets that's available. And then on Sunday, there will be a different one. So if you want both sets, you are going to want to plan to come both days. Okay. Will we have some outside of the con? Yeah, we'll probably sell a small amount on Legion Shop again, like we did last year, but you don't want to wait for that. You don't want to rely on that. You want to get to the show and pick them up there. A lot more will be revealed on that as we get closer to the event. But I know that some people last year, we didn't announce the Sir Gerard figure until a couple weeks before the con. And some people expressed that they wish they would have knew early on that there were going to be figure incentives to come. There you go. There may also actually be some figure exclusives or debuts or something from some of the other providers as well. Because Nate says, explain the difference between a set and a figure. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let you speculate. I use very specific words for very specific reasons. I'm not going to explain what I mean by them. You'll have to wait and see. I mentioned a few times the Independent Toy Creator Showcase. So before I move on, let me explain what I mean by that. When we were talking before LegionsCon 2021, one of the things we were talking about, and this was actually at the May Toy Con, we were actually talking about the fact that Legions is such a homegrown toy line. It's an original IP that the Horsemen created. This amazing community was built from the ground up, Walter creating the cabal and bringing people together, us doing a show like LegionsCon, everything is done super grassroots. And the reality is there are so many providers. There are so many companies out there now outside of the big Hasbros and Mattels who are doing incredibly cool work. Companies like some of the ones I just mentioned, like Sparrow Studios with their Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Like, some of the ones we had this past year, Creative Beast Studios and Fox Forge Toys, Lone Coconut, who makes the Plunderlings line, right? These are all really cool. Chris Gorich's, company D13 that makes, other action figure lines as well. This is like a golden age for independent toy creators. So one of the ideas we had is, because this community is so incredibly supportive of original ideas, we said, why don't we use the platform we have to shine a light on these other companies as well? Let's invite them. Let's bring them in. So it's something that we started in 2021, and it's something that we're growing in 2022. The Independent Toy Creator Showcase, these are going to be indie toy companies that are coming in with super, super cool stuff. Some of them, yeah, they're going to work really well with Legions. Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, their 6-inch figures, aesthetically look a little bit different, but they're going to work. They're pretty close. Other lines may not be a perfect fit. Plunderlings are obviously a very different aesthetic, but a lot of Legions fans have really embraced that. So we want to bring them in. That's going to be something that I think is really cool as well. If you want to meet these toy creators that are behind the Kickstarters that you backed, that are behind the pre-orders that you placed, they're going to be at LegionsCon 2022. Very, very cool. Is this going to be an independent toy convention only? No, there'll be stuff there that's not independent. I mean, 95% of it is going to be Legions. So Legions are an independent toy line. So yeah, the bulk of it is. But we're not telling, like, any marketplace seller that's going to be there, we're not saying, oh, you can't sell Hasbro or NECA product. Or no, of course not. They can sell whatever they want. We just want it to have at least some Legions focus to make it relevant to the audience. Very cool. So if anyone has any questions on anything that I've just mentioned, I'm happy to answer that along the way. But we're already at 8:30 and I've been babbling. I do want to talk a little bit about my challenges for the new year. Very, very cool. Okay. So I talked about this a little bit last week, right? When last week I did a show about, my favorite Legions figures to customize. And I went back and looked at some of my older work. And it really got me excited for some of the creativity that I was doing back then, some of the ways I was using parts. And the reality is, over the last couple years, I've intentionally changed some of the way that I've customized. It was very, very specific. A lot of the customs I've done lately have been, a custom 3D printed head that I've painted up and put on like a stock body. I've called it an LBC, call it whatever you want, but I've done that intentionally. And part of the reason I did it is when I started hearing people get into the customized, because I've been doing Mythic Legions custom since day one. And when I started seeing a lot of people saying, I would love to get into customizing, but I don't know how to paint, or it's too hard, I don't know where to get started, I really wanted to show people that the barrier to entry to customizing these things is not great. That with very little experience and seemingly very little skill, you can start doing really cool stuff, and you can build those skills. Okay, you can build them up over time. I want to encourage people to do that. And the reality is, if you show a beautifully complex custom, it feels out of reach for some people. But if you show something that's an LBC that's super easy to do, and you do a tutorial video on how to do it, and you show them step by step, that gives them confidence. And I can tell you the amount of people that have reached out to me and have thanked me for inspiring them to get started with customizing blows me away. And I see their work, and their work blows me away. I'm like, you just got started doing this. That came out great. That looks so much better than my first customs, literally. But I'm also an artist, right? I also have my own creations that I want to do. I want to push myself. So the reality is, I'm still going to do some LBCs. I'm still going to, show people easy recipes, but I also want to stretch. 2022, there's a couple things that I really, really want to do for myself. I've talked before about how I tend to do lots of customs at once, right? I want to pull away from that a little bit. As a customizer, this is not my job. So I have to do customizing when I have time. And I'm sure that a lot of you experience this as well. When you have a few hours to customize, you want to maximize that time, right? So if you're working on something and you do some paints and you've got to let it dry, some people use the blow dryer method. I've never done that. I don't blow dry anything. I let everything air dry. It's just my process. So I tend to do something, put it down, and then I pick up something else, and I do a little bit on that, put it down, pick up something else. Additionally, I'm obviously painting parts for Wolf King and Legion Shop and everything. That all takes a lot of time. And inevitably, when you do that, you lose a little bit of focus. You don't spend as much time on any one part because you're kind of bouncing around from so much. So personally, one of the things I'm looking to do in 2022 is focus. Fewer projects at once. Even if I'm not maximizing my time, I want to have one custom on the table. That's what I did recently with this guy here. So this flying fox head and feet, this is a set that I designed a little while ago, worked on it with Walter DeMarco of Mass Customs, and it was printed by Wolf King Customs. It was actually debuted on the recent Team Wolf King holiday special that we did in December. When I started working on that, I really, really wanted to do something special. I wanted to push myself here. And this is some pictures of what I posted today. I was really excited with the way this came out. And I think part of the reason it came out the way that it did, I'm proud of this piece. I think part of the reason it came out the way that it did was I didn't rush it. I focused. I put everything else aside and only did this. Even if I could only paint one thing and then I had to sit there and let it dry and I had to not maximize that time, I was okay with doing that. So I put it aside and then I came back to it when I had more time. That's one of the things I'm looking to do. Less projects, focus more, and follow my own advice. I've told a lot of people before, I've said, look, when you're done in custom, walk away for 24 hours, come back and look at it with fresh eyes. You know who doesn't do that? Me. I finish a custom and I'm so rushing to take photos of it, to put it to bed so I can move on to the next project. So I'm taking my own advice and I'm giving myself time to let things sit and come back with fresh eyes. Looking at this custom here, see that chest piece that he has on? That chest piece is just a rubbery piece from a Lord of the Rings figure, right? When I first did this custom, that's the body on this, by the way, is a Malfar. So when I first started doing this, I wanted to find a use for that Malfar, that blue demon from the Irithyr wave. And it would be super easy for me on this to just put it on a Malfar body and call it a day. The chest would have worked fine. But by putting it down, I came back to it and I said, you know what? It still looks like Malfar with his wings painted, some new feet, and a new head. What can I do different? And that's when I pushed it. So I put those hands. I looked at my fodder bin and I found these hands that quite literally I don't know what they go to. No idea what they came from. But finding those hands and putting those in, painting those and putting those in, they're kind of gangly and it gave it a different look. I really liked it. And then that torso, that chest piece, which is just laying on top of the armor, a couple little dabs of glue, and then those belts hold it in there. It really gives that whole chest piece a really different look. That's what I'm talking about. Those are pieces that a couple months ago, I wouldn't have done on this. I would have just put it on Malfar, painted the wings, and called it a day. So that's one of the things I'm trying to do in 2022. And I already mentioned the other thing I'm trying to do is go bigger, fewer LBCs. I want to still encourage people to do those. I want them to know that the barrier to entry is not as crazy as they may think that it is, but I also want them to push themselves. And one of the ways that I can hopefully do that is by pushing myself and showing some of the stuff that I could be capable of. So those are things I'm really excited for in the new year. I have some challenges for you as well. Before I do that, I'm going to take a look. I do have some other pictures here. Let me show you some other pictures. This one I think is actually cool because one of the things I did, so I wanted to do a flying fox because, again, I wanted to use the Malfar body, right? And I said, okay, well, what can I do with Malfar? And then that was in the back of my head. And then I started thinking about new parts that I could create. And the Kitsune foxes are obviously such a big part of what I've done in the last couple of years. So I was looking for variants of foxes. And when I stumbled upon a flying fox, which is, more of a bat than a fox, I was like, that's super fun. I'm going to do a flying fox. So I worked with, like I said, Walter DeMarco of Mass Customs, and we created both the head and the feet. This photo that you see on the left here, when I got the parts at hand and I decided that I wanted to paint it, that is the paint job that I was trying to go for there. And I looked at that and super glossy eyes. That's the first thing I noticed on that figure. So I love those glossy eyes, and they're not a flat color. There's, some browns and blacks that are in it. So, I had to figure out how to do that by mixing it in and, not really mixing it. I painted strands of brown and strands of black and almost mixed the paint on the actual figure before I used that gloss top coat. But that's what I was going for right here. I think that's a fun photo so you can see the comparison between the two. If you want a better shot of the feet, I have one of those as well. All of these parts, by the way, a number of people were asking when these are going to be available. All of these parts will be available from Wolf King Customs in a future sale. So you can see the feet there. These things have really, really crazy looking feet to begin with. So those hands are not going to be sold. Those hands, again, were something from my fodder bin, but the feet and the heads, those will be sold. So focusing, that's the type of stuff that I'm looking to do. Fewer customs, more in depth, more creative use of different parts. It's interesting. I've talked to Nikki Nicole Cheney about this before because Nikki is also a customizer that's been around for a really, really long time. And it's interesting because we've both said that we are living in like the golden age of customizing right now with the rise of 3D printing, all of these incredible artists that are creating parts. You can find almost anything. Like when we first started customizing, if you wanted a different dwarf head or a different orc head it was terribly hard to find that. You had to look at other toy lines to see what you could cannibalize. Now there's so much variety, which is great. But at the same time, there was almost like a real guerrilla style version of customizing back in those early days because you had so few resources. You had to get creative. You had to make things work. I kind of miss that in some ways. And I don't want to go back there because I don't want to lose where we are now with all these 3D parts. But I want to find a way to do both. I want to find a way to take advantage of the incredible portfolios and catalogs of all these amazing creators. But how do I use those and still have that spirit of creativity, that spirit of invention, where we're looking at toy lines and using pieces in totally unique ways? There's nothing I like more than when I do it or I see somebody else does it, where they use a piece from a figure and I recognize the piece, but they use it in such a genius way that I'm like, oh, it looks like it just belongs so well in that custom. I wish I would have thought of that. And when I do think of that, the reward is even better, of course. So that's some things I am looking to do in 2022. Looks like Eric LeBron agrees, making 22 a focus year for myself as well. On that note, Eric, I actually have a few things here that I want to talk about, but I'm just going to go back and check the comments. Got a lot of interaction today. Very, very cool. A lot of people questioning what the difference between a set and a figure is. So that's awesome. Keep speculating. Have I ever tried the 2000X He-Man head from Plastic Curves on a Mythic body? Just curious if it works. Greg, I actually don't buy stuff from Plastic Curves. I used to years ago. A lot of their stuff, I believe, is cast heads, and this is just my own standpoint. I don't know those people personally. I don't want to trash anybody. I don't buy cast heads anymore. I did early on before I kind of realized what I was buying. Those are casts of existing products that other companies own the license for. So while I'm all about 3D heads, I don't buy any cast products anymore. So I have never tried those myself, and unfortunately, I'm not going to because that's a product line that I just don't buy. Everyone's going to make their own decision on that. I'm not going to judge anybody unless you're casting for Horseman parts. Then I'm going to judge the hell out of you until you know. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I caught back up. I got back to a point where I read a comment I recognized. So I'm like, okay, now I can work down. Have I ever seen miniature painters do non-metallic metal? That's one of the things I want to try to build up the courage to do this year. I don't know what you mean at all, but now I want to look it up because I don't know what non-metallic metal means, but it sounds pretty cool, maybe especially for Cosmic Legions. What airport best to fly into for LegionsCon? That would be Newark, New Jersey. So again, if you go on LegionsCon.com, I will bring that up. So this is your resource right here, everybody, LegionsCon.com. This is literally everything you're going to want to know. So all of the event details are here about when the dates are going to be, when the times are going to be. Full schedule of events as we get closer. This is just some general. As we get closer, we will list an hour-by-hour breakdown of when doors open, when the workshops are, what the workshops are, etc. All of the guests are right here. So as we add new guests, we will continue to add them to this list. What I tend to do is when I add someone new, I put them right at top, and I actually put newly added right there so you are aware. And then after a week or so, I move them down. So this is all of the guests that I just went through. Here's the information about the venue. So you can see right here, it's got the phone number that you want to call and just tell them that you're there for LegionsCon. Right here is what the question you were just asking. Traveling to New Jersey for this event, we're about 13 miles from Newark Airport in New Jersey and 22 miles from JFK in New York. So we're not far from either one. It's going to take you longer to get from JFK in New York. I mean, it's more miles, but you're also going to get through New York traffic to get over to New Jersey. But if it's a lot cheaper to fly into JFK versus Newark Airport, that's something you can consider as well. Or there are certainly some people that want to spend time in New York City before coming to the con. You can totally do that as well. Everything is really, really close by. So hope that answers your question. Also on this page, there's a map of the area. So if you click that, you will actually be able to see where the venue is and a lot of the stuff around it. And you'll see that there is a ton of stuff to see and do. Very cool. All right. So that answers that question. Fabian saying I'm going through blow dryers like toothbrushes. That's funny. Busy Boy Customs. I like that. Set. He said set. Yes, I did say set. Show those LBCs some love. Dude, I love LBCs. There's nothing I love more than a really creative custom that totally transforms a figure with a minimal amount of work. Because I think that's creative. That's important. But at the same time, I've done a lot of that. I'm looking to push myself this year. Okay, such an outstanding piece. So Nate, yeah, when I started slowing down with photography, I not only improved a bit but enjoyed it a lot more. Nate, it's a great point. The first 2 years that I had my Instagram page, I posted every single day for 2 consecutive years. And while I did post a handful of repeats, the bulk of the posts were net new customs. That working at that rate, creating at that kind of rate at that time, it was awesome. It taught me so much. I literally got like 10 years of customizing experience in 2 years because of how much work I put into it. But wanting to take it slower and wanting to focus is exactly what you just said there. I want to be able to enjoy it more. I love what I'm doing. I've never, in all the years I've been customizing, have found it tedious. But part of the way I don't find it tedious is by challenging and trying to reinvent myself a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. Eric saying, amazing piece. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, Eric, the hands on him, I literally don't know what they're from. They were something I found in my fodder bin. I literally have so many pieces of broken apart toys. I don't want to be Sid from Toy Story, but I fear that I am at times. I buy loose lots of figures just for parts all the time. So it's from something. I'm not sure what. Honestly, I use those just to make them different. Any of the hands from a Mythic Legions figure, the bare hands would actually work super cool as well. The ones that have claws on them would actually look pretty neat. Yeah, the Model Masters Clear Gloss, game changer. I absolutely love that stuff. It worked really well on him. The feet are insane. Arthur saying, I'm losing my muse now and then. Arthur, I've got some challenges here. And if you're losing your muse, if you're feeling uninspired, it happens to everybody. I've got 6 challenges. Six challenges for the new year. Things that if you are looking to push yourself, if you're looking to get re-inspired, take one of these, take all of these and try them out. I think you'll be excited for that. I want to get to those right now. So I'm just trying to get through all of, oh, Jesus. So Joe Vassapolo saying, Jeremy, we killed it. So little secret here, Joe is back at the studio and he's doing the paint work on some of the exclusives or some of the show versions of the figures for LegionsCon. So what I'm looking at on my phone are the figure sets that are going to be available at LegionsCon this year, and Joe just texted me or chatted me here saying to check my PM so I could look at them. And oh my goodness, they're insane. Joe, they are so good. They are so good. People are going to lose their mind for these things. And it's really cool. And we'll talk a lot more about these as we get closer to revealing them. But the reality is this is fun too, because these particular photos that we're looking at are some creations that I designed, and the studio, we went back and forth on a few things, and Joe's actually doing some of the painting. So awesome. Awesome to collaborate with you, Joe. I don't even know what to say right now because I'm just at all the feels right now. That's pretty intense. Yeah. Pixar, we don't believe it. Trust me, they're there. They are there. Wow. Okay, so to close the evening, we were just talking about, people feeling uninspired or feeling like they've maybe hit a wall in customizing. So I've told you what I'm challenging myself with this year. Focusing, bigger customs, fewer LBCs, more time on them, things like that. But I came up with 6 challenges that I'm going to do some of these myself this year to stay fresh as well. And it's things that I think you can do as well if you're looking to get reinvigorated here. So the first one that I have here is break out of your comfort zone. So do a custom that is much different than what you would normally do, right? Lots of us have certain styles, certain things that we do. I do obviously a ton of critter customs. There's a lot of people that say do, predominantly skeletons, right? So say that you're someone that loves the undead. You love doing skeletons, zombies, things like that. And you don't really love, say, the forest creatures, the elves and stuff like that. Do an elf custom. Do something that is totally the opposite of what you're used to doing, for the simple sake to challenge yourself. If you don't like it, sell it. Sell it, trade it. I think more often than not, when you push yourself, you're going to find that you love the custom, not only because of the end product, but because of the process of doing something different and learning new things. The reality is when you paint or you customize the same kind of custom over and over, there are certain techniques. When you do skeletons, you're probably doing a lot of gritty paint jobs on those armor, a lot of dirty type things. There's a benefit in trying to do the exact opposite because it teaches you new things. And it gives you some variety. It's cool to do something that's totally unlike what you've already done. So break out of your comfort zone. If you're always doing a certain type of custom, try something brand new. As part of that, learn some new tricks. So I talk about dry brushing all the time on this show, right? It's almost a joke how much I talk about it. I love to dry brush. But the reality is, if that's the only technique you're going to use, all of your customs start looking similar in certain ways. And there are certain kinds of effects. There are certain kinds of parts that are not going to benefit from certain techniques. I actually remember being on this show well over a year ago, and even 2 years ago at this point, I don't know. But Chris Middlecamp, Hobby Lobby, was on, and we were talking about something. And he was talking about watering down paints. I hate watering down paints because it's the exact opposite of dry brushing, right? When you dry brush, you're putting a little bit of paint on the brush and you're drying it off. So the brush has almost nothing left on it. And then you're being very, very controlled with how you apply it. The flip of that is if you put a little bit of paint in your paint tray and then you put some water in it, you mix it up so it's like really, really watery, like the consistency of milk. I remember Matt O'Toole from Castle of Power giving this advice once, saying, make it like milky. If you put that on the figure, you have like almost no control. It goes everywhere, right? It pools up in like spaces and it freaks you out. If you're used to dry brushing and you do that, you will lose your brain. However, what you find is that if you do it correctly, it doesn't, that those pools where it is, once it dries, it's not there. And you get a really thin coat. And then you do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And you put multiple layers of this really thin coat. And what you end up with is the smoothest, cleanest paints. Now, yeah, because it gets kind of everywhere, you're going to have to touch up some of the stuff around it. But the parts that you're trying to paint look so good. When I did my rabbit customs months and months ago, I was dry brushing those rabbits and I was getting frustrated because it was not coming out the way I wanted. And I put it down and I literally, the piece I was working on, I just put it down and said, I've ruined this piece. So I said, you know what? I've got to do something different because the method I'm using is not working. So I'm going to do something totally different. So I put it down and I remembered that comment from Chris and I said, you know what? I'm going to try the exact opposite. I'm going to learn a new trick. And I tried this paint effect, something I never do. And once I let it dry, it looked horrible, but I pushed through and it freaked me out and the stuff was pooling up. I pushed through and once it all dried, it was the smoothest look. It gave me exactly what I was going for. Then I just did a tiny bit of dry brushing on the fur on the nose and so forth. It gave me what I needed. So if you use certain techniques all the time, learn some new tricks. Start with YouTube, right? Learn how to do new things. Look at some of these videos on YouTube. See how other people do these different paint effects and try them out. Number 3. Buy parts from an artist you haven't before. So if you're using third-party parts, there's so many incredibly cool artists out there, and they have very distinct styles. I was thinking about this recently. Sabadam from Planetary Dog Toys. I have painted a ton of his parts over the years. For one reason or another, I haven't bought anything from him in quite a few months. It's been a while since I've bought anything. Not because he didn't have stuff that I thought was cool, just didn't place an order. And then I recently got around to placing an order. He had a few parts I wanted to work with, and I did a commission that used one of his parts. So I picked up the parts I needed for the commission and some parts for myself. And the minute I started painting them, and I was like, yep, this is a Saba piece. His pieces have such a distinctive feel to them when you paint them. Same thing with Emil Wickman. Same thing with lots of different artists. The minute, if you've painted lots of different parts and you painted their parts, you get used to them. You know it feels like one of their parts. But if you're only painting stuff from certain artists, you won't get that experience. You won't get the different kinds. So if you admire an artist and you've never bought any of that artist's work, do so. Not only will it give you something new to work on, something fresh, but guess what? You're going to support an independent artist, and that's pretty darn cool as well. Use paint colors you always avoid, right? So we get these paint sets. If you're like me, you get these paint sets because I will run out of paints and I'll need a black and a red and this brown, blah, blah, blah. And I'll price out all of my paints and I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'm going to spend less money. Instead of buying these 6 jars of paint, I'm going to buy this set that comes with 18 different paints because it's going to actually be less money and I get all this extra paint, whether I use it or not. I do that all the time. And then I end up with certain paints in that paint set that I just don't use. I don't use purple very much until recently. Recently, I've started saying, you know what? I want to start using paints I never, ever use. Go to the store. If you're going to go to the store, the craft store, and you're going to buy paints, and you're there to pick up your metallics or whatever, buy paints in colors you don't imagine using. Buy paint colors that you never use, and then find a use for them. By adding those different colors into your palette, you're going to force yourself to stretch, and that's going to get your brain thinking in different ways. How do I use these colors that don't seem like they fit in the realm of mythos, but how do I make them fit in the realm of mythos? That's hard to do, but when you do it, you've learned something, and that's going to be really fun. That's going to teach you something. Create a custom using only stock parts. I talked about this in my show a while back where I talked about the Mythic Legions All Stars 3 challenge, right? When I did that. And this is one of the customs I did as part of that challenge, Toxian, the Toxic Minotaur. This is one of my favorite customs I've done in years. And I did it because I pushed myself not to use any third-party parts, not to cannibalize Lord of the Rings or Spawn figures or anything like that, but to only use Mythic Legions parts. Originally, I actually only used All-Stars 3 parts. But then for this one, I stretched a little bit and I actually did use that green cape that came from an Elf Ranger. We get so used to, saying, okay, I'm going to start by figuring out what third-party part that I actually want. Then I'm going to figure out what base body to use it on. Awesome. That's a lot of fun. I just suggested buying parts from a third-party creator you haven't in the past. But another challenge is work exclusively within the Legions line. Try to create something new and unique and fresh, specifically from the Legions line only. I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. That's another challenge. And the last challenge I have, do something that scares you. Okay? When you do things that scare you, you're challenging yourself. If you're afraid to paint like a human face, paint a human face. If you're afraid to paint, a dwarf or something, or an ogre, whatever you look at and you say, I can't do that, it's too complex, do it. Are you going to do a great job for your first time? Maybe not. But you are going to learn things in the process of doing that you will not learn unless you do it. You're not going to pick up those skills unless you push yourself and you do things that are scary. Those are my challenges. Let me read them again for you here. Stop sharing. Things that I think that you can do to challenge yourself. Break out of your comfort zone. Learn some new tricks. Buy parts from a new artist. Stretch your paint palette. Use some colors you never use. Create a custom using only stock parts. And do something that scares you. So those are my challenges. If you do find yourself being stuck, feeling uninspired, hopefully the challenges that I've just laid out, if you think of one of those and you say, you know what? I remember Jeremy saying this. I'm going to do that. Write them all down, put them in your workshop, and when you're feeling, or your workbench or whatever, when you're feeling like you're not energized, you're not enthused, take one of those projects on and do them. And after you're done, please tag me, because I can't wait to see what you make, as I always like to say. So Drew Grubbs, when I was talking about watering down paints, he said that is the secret to painting smooth skin. And let me tell you, Drew Grubbs would know, because the dwarf figures, the realistic characters that he paints are top of the line. I love them. Every time I get a new head like that for Legion Shop and I need to choose an artist, he's my go-to. I love him. So if he says that's the way to do it, trust me, that's the way to do it. So I'm going back. There was a lot of comments that came in while I was rattling off my tips. So I'm going to try to catch up on these. Yes. Joe, Insanity, they look so good. Eric says, that's just not fair. I promise you the wait will be worth it. And it won't be 3 weeks before the con. We're going to reveal them well in advance. But what we're looking at right now, these are photos at the studio of them being held like this. We want to get them professionally shot. So we want Trevor to get his hands on these. Trevor, wait till you see these. I think you're going to love them. Okay, let's see. Curtis, challenge 1, make a gnome. Challenge 2, make a gnome. Challenge 3, make a gnome. Make a dwarf. So I just finished my first gnome. Curtis, and I use this process. I challenged myself. I did Drew. I did that wet paint method to get the smooth skin, and I'm pretty excited. I got to take some photos of it. Show that hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week. Curtis, you cracked me up. Cool. Pablo's saying he's getting ready to do an airbrush. I don't have an airbrush. That actually could be a good challenge for myself as well. Maybe learn how to airbrush. Greg, say, is there a toy company or custom seller you would suggest for the Mythic line figure accessories, but in a non-armored look? So like cloth, leather looking clothing. Well, you got to remember that the upper arms and upper legs are out of bounds for customizing companies. So for Horseman Studios, we put out a list of guidelines for third-party creators recently, and what was asked is that upper arms and upper legs, people avoid those. So there's not going to be any third-party creators that care about playing within the rules, which has been everyone so far, thankfully, who are going to create those types of parts. If you're looking for soft goods pieces, Strupp Family Crafts, they're my go-to. They're a LegionsShop.com artist. They're a LegionsShop.com. I can't say this. LegionsShop.com artist. And they also have their own website at StruppFamilyCrafts.com. The accent comes out sometimes, especially as we get later. I need to learn patience. That's a big one. Absolutely. Walk away. Walk away. Go do something else. Seriously. Drew, always paint past the ugliness. Every piece goes through an ugly phase. Believe in your process and paint through it. This guy, Drew, knows what he is talking about. There will be points that you are painting that you want to say, this is not going to work, and you want to pitch that piece. Paint through it. Drew says it here perfectly. Paint through the ugliness. That is an absolutely excellent piece of advice. Eric's saying he's currently practicing new layering techniques for beards and hair. Awesome. Skin tones. Patrick saying, I was impressed with the first Von Burke piece I painted recently. Yeah. Again, Brian is another person that has a very distinct style. When you paint a Von Burke piece, you know it's a Von Burke piece. If you've never painted it, it's a joy to be able to pick up a new piece like that. Yeah, Eric's saying Oberon's. Eric, I got to tell you, dude, part of me pushing myself this year, I'm not going to lie, was LegionsCon 2021. I was so inspired by seeing everyone's work at LegionsCon that I literally was like, okay, I was energized. I wanted to do more. I really, really wanted to push myself because I saw all of them pushing themselves, and I was like, yes, energy. I mean, that's part of this. That's part of the synergy about this community of being able to feed off each other. Love that. Curtis, I'm still using Lord of the Rings part. I've been looking up new lots. I haven't bought a lot of Lord of the Rings figures in a couple of years. I'm back in the market. Yeah, Patrick, my first Legions custom of the year was just stock parts. It's my favorite custom to date. Absolutely. Painting eyes is scary. I hear you. The minute you paint eyes, the minute you get it right, that you learn the technique, it's like a veil gets lifted. I still don't love doing it, but I've said this many times. There's a video on YouTube that I think many of us have watched at this point. There's a guy painting Warhammer miniatures. It's called like How to Paint Eyes. The techniques he used, like that video, totally changed my game when it came to that. The Displacer had some nice purple accents. Yep, he did. Using that. Eric, you passed on the Poxxus pre-order? Just going through all these comments here. Yep, Drew is a master. Trevor saying I'm trying to get a look. Yes, and now I've gotten to the point where people are making fun of my accent, and I said honest. There's that Rhode Island accent. It should be like a mythic conversations drinking game. When Jeremy's accent really comes out, you get to take a swig. So that's the content I had for this evening. Again, super excited for LegionsCon 2022. Just wanted to get that out there, get that announcement out there. There's going to be so much more that gets announced. If you are someone that wants to be a part of LegionsCon 22 as an exhibitor, whether you're a marketplace seller, whether you are a customizer that wants to, show off some customs or whatever, if you want to get involved, not only as an attendee, but you want to actually exhibit, reach out to me. A lot of people have reached out to me and offered their help from a volunteer standpoint. We appreciate that. We're not looking for any volunteers at this time, but certainly it's always good to hear that. We've got an abundance of people willing to help out, which is a testament to this community. However, at this point, really, we're just filling these tables. We are more than 50% filled up already. We have as many tables spoken for this year that we had last year, and we literally just opened it up. So we know those are going to go. So if you're interested in learning more about, how that works and you want to potentially grab one, reach out to me through like Messenger, through the Cabal or whatever, and I will happily tell you what the process is. Curtis doing my job for me, saying, don't forget to like and subscribe. I never say that on this show. I always figure if you're watching the show, you kind of know that. But yeah, definitely like the video, subscribe, spread the word. If you know other Legions fans, other toy fans that you think would enjoy the show, let them know. Let them know we're here every Wednesday night live, and you can always catch the replay anytime after that. So with that, hopefully this evening has given you some things to think about. Not only coming to LegionsCon, it's a whole new year. It's an amazing time to be a customizer. The products that the Horsemen are giving us are incredible. The new parts that are coming in the line, the fact that there's such a vibrant third-party community that are, working together and creating cool stuff. You look at something like Legion Shop and all of those artists that come together and are all supporting each other. I mean, every time I see a Legion Shop artist post something, the other artists cheer them on and just support them. And that is what this is all about. It is such an incredible time to do all of that. But if you are feeling a lack of energy, a lack of creative fire, hopefully some of the things we talked about tonight will inspire you, because I know that I am more inspired to go forward in 22 than I have been in a long time. And I hope you'll be here for the ride. I will be back next week. Same Mythic time, same Mythic channel, but the plan is to have a guest. So I'm going to have someone on the show next week that I will be talking to that has never been on the show before. Brand new guest. Don't want to announce who it is, just in case something happens and this person can't make it. But I will be here one way or another. I will look forward to seeing you then. And with that, cue the outro.